Our next guest was appointed to President Trump's congressional task force on reopening the American economy recently. Congressman Andy Biggs from Arizona. Welcome onto the Michael Coolidge Show.
Michael, good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're very familiar with your district, by the way. We would go there every single year for Cubs and White Sox spring training, staying in both Chandler and Ahwatukee, which I think is outside of your district. But Chandler's in your district, right?
Chandler's in my district. That's right.
Yes,
yeah.
Wonderful area of the country, particularly this time of the year.
Yes, sir.
And, let's talk about that. I know that in March and April, where you live and where so many of people where I live go vacation to for spring training, I mean, it is a bustling time of the year, a microcosm of baseball for the entire country. Well, now, of course, restaurants are shut down, hotels are shut down. There isn't any baseball there. This, I'm sure, has been devastating for your local economy in the Phoenix area of Arizona. And what do we need to do, generally speaking, here? Then we can get into the nitty-gritty to get our economy back going again.
Well, number one, you've got to be willing to open up your economy. And trust the American people. We're American people. We're creative. We're ingenious. We do remarkable things. And I believe what you'll see is we open it up is people will respect the social distancing and the health requirements. But they will open up. They'll get it back out. They'll start working again. And that's the number one thing you need to do to help this economy.
Can you talk a little bit about, before we get into this congressional task force on reopening the American economy, how Congress is operating right now? We've seen Nancy Pelosi on TV in front of her $13,000 refrigerators, and we know different congressmen are in their districts right now, where I assume you are, and that's because, Speaker Pelosi is the decider on whether Congress is in session, I guess, or not, as far as working and voting in person there. And she's decided, no, that's not going to be the case right now. But you guys can't vote on anything unless you're there in person in Washington, D.C., right? So how will you be able to move things forward as we try to open up this economy?
Well, first of all, I think Nancy Pelosi must think Congress is non-essential, which is some people in my district would agree with that. But anyway, we need to be there in Congress and to vote. We need to be there. There are so many things we have to do besides just coronavirus. We need to also get to the bottom of this. We need to find out what China knew, when they knew it, and how we hold them accountable. We need to look at the FISA court, for Pete's sakes, the abuses that were there. But this has been overshadowed. But we found out that of every case that the Inspector General looked at, the FBI basically abused their prerogatives, and so we need to be looking at that. There's so many things to look at.
That they're. This is key, listeners. We haven't covered this enough, but I'm glad you brought that up. This is gigantic. That the FBI under James Comey, while they were doing these FISA court spying on the Trump campaign, essentially, and then eventually on the administration itself, they knew that their quote-unquote assets were working with the CIA already, and they knew that the information in the dossier was completely paid for by Russia and the DNC, and they still went forward with it anyway.
Yeah, and they didn't disclose it. So you got 42 different cases that the IG looked at and said, you guys botched every one of these, and that's the only sample that the IG even looked at. Said, okay, let's pull 42 cases randomly. They do, boom. What do you see? Every one of them there was abuse, and we need to be getting into that. There's so many things that we need to be doing, and the speaker has been reticent to do anything. And I will just tell you that we can social distance. We're mature folks. We can make wise decisions on this, just like everybody else. I mean, look, if I can go into the restaurants, and you mentioned them, we get lots of great restaurants here, and I can go get takeout, and we're all social distancing, or I can go to the grocery store, or the big box store, or the big box hardware store. You tell me why I can't go to the furniture store, the hobby store, or go back to Congress.
Yeah.
and conduct ourselves responsibly.
I just don't understand how that can't be done. You have every congressman sitting in his office, and Cannon and Rayburn and the rest of them. You can do Zoom meetings for the caucus meetings or whatever. But then when you actually vote, you can file one by one, 6 feet apart, into the committee rooms or into the chamber of the House. And vote and press the buttons and use a key to press the yes or the yay or the nay. You don't need to stick your finger on it. This is simple stuff. And right now there's small businesses throughout the country that are waiting on this Paycheck Protection Act, through their banks to get approved. This possible small business stimulus, the second wave of it that Treasurer Mnuchin is trying to get through. How is he? Who is he negotiating with? I mean, is it all on Zoom that they're doing with? I don't understand how they're going to eventually approve this. Is it going to be a voice vote?
Well, look, we should do a recorded vote. We're the United States Congress. Everybody should know exactly how their representatives vote on these things, especially when we're talking the amount of money and the policy that's always concomitant with this. We should be doing that. I'm sure they're doing Zoom because Mnuchin and Schumer and McConnell and Pelosi and their staff and all that stuff. But we do that. I mean, we do conference calls. I do many conference calls every day. I do Zoom meetings. I do teletown halls. We're capable. The technology we have today allows us to communicate in ways from a distance that was unimaginable even 15 years ago. So this is where we need to be, and to vote, we can go back. You're right. You know what? If you got a problem, give us gloves. We'll go and we'll press that button, yes or no, or present with gloves on. We can wear a mask. Good grief.
I know. We are creative people, Americans, and we're already doing it. We have right to our west, Iowa, Nebraska, I believe Minnesota. I could be wrong, but I know Iowa and Nebraska. Oh, Indiana to our east. They're going to be in phase one. Like whenever their governor decides, they have already passed that 2-week threshold. I don't know how Arizona is doing as far as that goes. We're not going to be going into phase one anytime soon. I don't think Illinois, but our trends are definitely down. But when that happens, these businesses that have been shut down. I love and we play as much of the coronavirus task force press conferences as we can on the radio. Are there going to be like half of them? I'd like to see it 50-50. I'd like to see 50 on the health aspects and 50 on the economy aspects. I know you're a congressman working for your district, not President Trump, but you communicate with the Trump administration being on the task force. Are they going to slowly be doing that and focusing at least half on the economy? Because I know that's your bread and butter.
Yeah, no, that's where we need to be. The president, in my conversations with him, is he's anxious to get this thing up and going. My opinion is we need the feds to kind of step back, let the governors take control. I'm a big federalist. And the only reason that the Fed should be getting involved at this point is as support, information, and then enforcing against some of these tyrants who've come out and abused constitutional rights, whether it's the mayor or governor. But I mean, we're going to lose rural hospitals in Arizona. I've talked to hospital administrators; they can't go another week or two. They're just going to go under, and it's real hard to bring a hospital back that's gone under.
And why is that? Because we have a lot of rural hospitals where we live in our listening area as well. How is the coronavirus? It's not because they're being overwhelmed with coronavirus patients, right?
Right. No, that's exactly right. I mean, look, we've got one of our counties. We only have 15 counties in Arizona, one of the biggest states geographically. But we have, you have one hospital there. That hospital basically services the whole county. They have virtually no coronavirus cases, but they can't do any elective surgery, and that could mean everything from some serious eye surgeries to cancer surgeries, what have you. Those are considered elective in many respects. That's how they make their money. They make their money because that's usually privately insured, and they receive the full compensation for that.
Sure.
And they're shedding money, so that means that they're going to shed employees, and that means at some point they can't sustain themselves. They can't go on. They get into this death spiral. So I've advocated to my own governor that he allow each hospital make the determination whether they're prepared. In Arizona, we're actually seeing the trend from last week was down every day. So
I hope that changes for you guys, because here in Illinois, I mean, we're doing. My wife's a physical therapist doing home health. She's still seeing patients, which I assume physical therapy is somewhat elective, but I could be wrong about that. She'll probably correct me later that it is not. But I mean, I know that I was watching Tucker Carlson the other night. Nationally, like knee replacements are considered elective. But then there's other things like abortion in the state of Michigan is not considered elective. It's insane.
It is, and that's partly, Michael, because when you get the federal government kind of setting all these guidelines, that's when you get the mistakes that come in. Now let's be honest. I think that abortion there's a federal interest in that, because I'm a big believer from a libertarian point of view that every life is entitled to life, right? I mean, so I don't know how you can possibly justify that as an essential service, for Pete's sakes. But in any event, we're facing this, and there's so much we can do, and we should get this open, because you're back to your original question, which was how do you get the economy going? The first thing you do is you move the government out of the way, let people govern themselves, recognizing, hey, there's some guidelines. Just follow some guidelines. Be wise about this thing, and I think people will be. I'm watching it every day. I'm sure you go to the grocery store. I've been to Home Depot or Lowe's, and people are. I mean, those places are packed. Why? Because nobody's working, and beautiful weather here in Arizona, so people are buying up gear. They're going home, working in their backyard, doing home improvement projects, and they're all being socially health conscious about this thing. And why can't we open up a furniture store, for Pete's sakes? Or
I really hope it's driven in more. And my friend from the Federalist, David Marcus, wrote a great piece last week about this. That we are our elected leaders do things based on the consent of the governed. I saw a guy on this Jay Inslee character, the governor of Washington, say that his citizens were being insubordinate to some of his rules. No, there's no such thing as citizens being insubordinate to elected leaders. It's the other way around. So yes, So we will decide as a country, as American citizens, what we will tell our elected leaders as far as how we want to slowly get our economy back going again. And I know your voice more on the economic side, but with caution, obviously. None of us want to make this virus spread anymore. We're going to be smart about it, but for crying out loud, it can't be just about the medical aspects of it.
No, that's right. I mean, just think about this. You got some of these medical professionals are saying, well, we might need to be closed till 2022. And I think, well, when you open up, guess what you'll have? Nothing.
Right.
There'll be nothing left
of
the economy. Yeah, there'll be no country.
Well, Congressman Andy Biggs, we really appreciate the work you're doing out in Arizona and for our country as part of the Economic Task Force. Anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
Just, hey, I trust the people of America. And I don't have power. I only have authority delegated to me by the constituents in my district.
Well, I wish more politicians understood that. I know you definitely do. Congressman Biggs, thanks so much for coming on the Michael Koolidge Show.
Thanks, Michael. Have a great one.